opportunity to speak to you. Tell us about the Sautiku Foundation. What's the inspiration behind it?
The inspiration behind it is to just give children and young people and their families the opportunity to realize their potential, realize that they can actually do something to change their lives, and we use different activities, different programs in order to help them do that.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about those activities.
Well, we have different ones. For example, we have 4 different pillars. One of them is around the individual, your personality, your character, developing that. And the reason we concentrate on this is because as an individual, if you don't appreciate yourself, if you don't realize what your potential is, if you don't have a sense that you're important and not being taken important, it's very difficult to be able to act and do something and participate in improving your own life. So we work with the young people to learn how to be part of the decision-making process, to be responsible and also accountable for what they do in their lives, be it in the small things and in the bigger things. I mean, when you talk about the bigger things, you're already talking about education, doing well in school, whether you like a subject, whether you're good at something, give it your 100%. Because if you give 100%, I say, even if it's a D and it's 100%, you've done extremely well. So we work with that. We also work with just education as such, in that kids need to go to school. They need to try and do well at school. We try to work with the schools very closely to make sure that an environment is created for the children so that they can go to school. We also work in informal education around vocational training, because we want the children to realize that you don't just get a white-collar job, you don't just read books and then you'll get a job. You can also work with your hands. And you can also work with your hands and earn very well, and you need to respect that, because they don't. Because the way our education system is developed, it shows that if you work in a job where you end up getting in the university and you have a white-collar job, that's when you've made it. If you go into the artisan sector, you haven't made it. You just were not so smart. And this is wrong. The kids have different talents, different abilities, and they need that exposure.
And so it's trying to harness it.
It's trying to harness that. And then it comes about, how do you earn a living? And that's where we call it sustainable economic growth. We work with the young people and their families to look at what is available locally, local resources that they can use to earn a living. And in this particular case, in Western Kenya, it is land. They have a lot of land, and we try to teach them and show them how valuable it is and how they can use it. Because the majority run away into the city, leave the land, and end up in the slums, very, very poor. And our last pillar is going to be the crown that is going to be opened officially on the 16th, on Monday, is that we create, we have an infrastructure program where we create spaces, physical spaces, which is equally important, where the young people can go and realize their potential, get that exposure, because they need a space, they need an environment where they can do that, and that's what the center is going to be for them.
And you know, when you talk about education and harnessing it, currently, locally, we're at a time where young people are burning down schools.
I hear about that, I hear.
Right, and it's troubling on the one hand. The ministry says, you know, there are different factors, but also the fact that these children do not feel prepared for the examinations. We're coming from a time where we saw one of the worst failures in terms of educational performance. What do you think about our current state and how children are viewing performance vis-a-vis, I suppose, their life opportunities?
I think the first question I'd ask, and I really would ask it, and I'm going to ask it as an outsider because my daughter is already, you know, past that level, is who is educating these children? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. Who is participating? Are the parents participating in educating these children? Are they just the teachers? Is this something that has become a situation where the children are feeling that they are not part of it and are not being taken seriously in the education system? Because what values do these children have that they would feel that in order to get rid of a fear of doing an exam, I burn down my own school. I burn down the gateway to possibility and opportunity. It is not understandable. Somebody somewhere has not made it clear to these children that they're burning down their own opportunity to be able to move forward. And there must be some kind of fear that has been infiltrated into these children that makes them feel that I have no chance anyway. Somebody who does something like that feels that they have nothing to lose. And we must re-examine our education system. We must re-examine the kind of messages these children are getting so that we can understand why they feel that by burning down their schools they have nothing to lose. And the parents must re-examine also how they relate to their children, because don't they pay? When the school has been burnt, don't they have to pay? So creating that situation or allowing that situation to happen means that somebody slept on the job. That's the first thing. When you come to the children themselves, you ask yourself, what are the values that are being spread? And one of the things that I was told when I asked about it was that the parents are not educating their children enough anymore. They're not participating anymore enough in the learning of the children, and they're not fighting enough around what it is that the children are being loaded with in terms of education. Yeah. And you know, like I say, I'm speaking as an outsider. So if the children, the weight of education has been put on the school fully, and the children have no space to breathe, the systems that are being set up are systems that it's not fun anymore to go to school. You know, where's the creative part of being in school? Where am I going to enjoy? All I'm doing is learning to pass an exam. You know, all I'm doing is learning to pass an exam. So I am completely stressed the whole time I'm at school. So the kids can't relate to school as being something that they enjoy, something that they want to remember. When I was growing up, we were told, you remember the best years of your life are the years that you spent in school. And in a way, yes, they are. Made the best friends there, had a lot of learning, had so much fun. And the kids today going to school in Kenya are not having fun. School has to be fun.
You've also talked about using what you have locally and land being an important resource. And you know, the state here at home where women, young girls still do not have, as it were, equal land rights, though provided for in the Constitution, more of a cultural issue. How will you help girls in particular within this program to be able to use that capital?
I think the first thing is they just have to learn about their rights, learn about the Constitution. I spoke earlier and said that part of what we're going to be teaching the young people is civic education, so that they know as citizens what is their responsibility, what are their rights, how do they participate, what does it mean if they participate or don't participate, what is the environment they live in socially, what is their place in that environment. Of course, it's a thin line to tread, because you also have to respect traditions, you have to respect culture, but it has to make sense. I mean, that is the premise that we have. So a lot of what will happen for the girls in particular, but I think it's the boys as well, because we have situations where young boys are in a family where, because their mother is widowed, they've all been chased off the land. So all of them lose the land. So I wouldn't really differentiate and say, oh, it's just the girls who have to struggle. I think boys, young boys are also struggling with this. So it's about understanding what can you do. And again, it's about what I say, use what you have to get what you need. What can you do? Participate. What can you do to improve your life? How can you inform yourself in such a way that when you do participate, when you do try to improve your life, you do it successfully? So it's about exposure, teaching them, and also talking to the community, because that's part of what we'll be doing as well, and that's why we work with their parents. Yeah. So when that girl is going to be disinherited, or basically doesn't even get anything, if her parents are part of our program and they realize that we're teaching this, because when we teach children's rights, we don't just teach it to the children, we also talk to the parents about it, they will realize that actually it's okay. And to be honest, between you and me as women, at the end of the day, when our parents get old, who are the likely people to look after those parents? It's the girls. Right. So they need to be financially equipped to do so. Right. So it makes total sense to also improve their lives, promote the situation of the girls as much as you do the boys.
You've talked about, you know, the civic education, if you like, and we've just come out of a hotly contested election, and as is, you know, infamous about Kenyan elections, young people are often the ones who are misused by, if you like, our political culture, you know, to met out violence and things like that. And we saw, you know, some pretty tough times. What kind of messages are you going to be telling young people, you know, regarding their political voice and its power vis-a-vis being used merely as, you know, instruments of violence, if you like?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest messages we have at Sautiku is, what's in it for you? It's a very simple sentence. What's in it for you? And long term, what's in it for you? And when the young people start really exploring what's in it for me, and accompany with that, they learn about their rights and they learn about their civic responsibility, they will make the right decisions when the time comes. It'll take a while. And also it'll take a while because also you have to find out what choices do they have. And that's the big question, because sometimes you don't have very much choice to make the right decisions. So it's kind of an exploration space that we have, because the young people must first realize what's in it for me as a citizen when I make certain choices, and what are the consequences of those choices. And when you think of the consequences of those choices long term, and you make it clear to them, young people, like I say, somebody asked me earlier, why do I work with children and young people? Because you can actually impress on them. They're open to learn something new. They're open to try. They're less afraid. And if you can get through to them and make them understand that they have choices and they have options and they have alternatives, because part of the bad choices that young people are making in our country is because they have no alternatives and they have no perspective. And at Sautiku, we create alternatives, we create options, and we give them a perspective on how they can improve their lives.
And with the youth bulge, I mean, that depending on how you look at it, it's either a ticking time bomb or an opportunity. How do you harness that collective youth voice to be a sauti kuu?
Yeah. I think for me, it's always an opportunity. One must never talk about children and young people as a problem, because that is our future. And if we think our future is a problem, we have a problem. They're an opportunity. And all we have to do, and this is our responsibility, and this is what kind of frustrates me a lot and moves me to work the way I work, is that we cannot make our children go through an education system that is causing them to burn down their schools, where they work so hard and come out the other end with the straight A's you want from them, or the good grade as best they can under the conditions that they get, and then they come out and they have nothing. I think I read somewhere that our employment system, a young person gets out of university and waits an average of 5 years before they get the job that they went to school for. It is wrong. We as adults have to start changing the infrastructure so we create jobs. We make them employable, and that's part of what Sauti Kuu does. Our kids are employable through what we do with them, but we need to have the employment available for them. And this is where we need to re-examine ourselves. We need to start creating jobs. We need to try creating an environment in this country that enables people to do business so that they create jobs. We cannot start we cannot start victimizing small enterprise, people creating jobs. We need to create an environment in the economy that enables them to succeed, because they will employ people and give them a salary. Many people, the people who are in Kibra, in Korokocha, no, you bring all the NGOs in there, no disrespect to NGOs. But if these people have a salary and earn their own living, they can pay rent. They can have a house that is dignified enough for a human being to live in, instead of living in a shack and having a flying toilet. But they need jobs. So our biggest thing now, the biggest challenge, and where the problem lies, is not in the youth, it's what we are doing to create jobs for these youth. What we're doing to put an economy in place and an environment for our economy that allows growth in the industry so we can create jobs.
What do you think needs to shift in terms of economic policy to see more job creation for the youth? And some would conversely argue that, you know, should we be creating jobs for the youth, or should we be churning out the kind of youth who will be entrepreneurs creating jobs themselves?
Let's be fair. I am not an entrepreneur. You tell me to start my own business, it will fall apart. It is not fair. And that is the trouble, because, and this is something we do, again, no disrespect to the NGO world, but everybody wants to make out of these young people an entrepreneur. Let's go start a small business. You give them 2,000 shillings and tell them, with 2,000 shillings you can do nothing. So you have to be at least 100 of you so it can do something. Now try and make a decision if you're 100 of you. Now try and start a business. It's not fair. Most of us are not business-minded. It's a skill. And you can't just say, because you're poor, you can start a small business. It's unfair. Let the young people have choices. Create spaces where they can go and get employment. There's so much going on. The Juakali industry is creating work for young people, but it's a struggling industry, although it's sustaining us, you know. But we need to create jobs where the kids can go and get a job where they can be employed as well. Our education system teaches you that you have to be employed. You go and you get employed somewhere. So the ones who have fallen off the side are the ones who are doing the entrepreneurship work. They're the ones who think they're poor. It's wrong. We need to change that. We need to focus more on how we create real jobs. We allow industry, we allow enterprise to be able to flourish and be able to give the young people work.
With what you've said about, you know, industry and economic opportunity and, you know, your father's unrealized dreams and you pursuing your own, I mean, do you think the Kenya of today is significantly different, is making strides in the right places to enable young people realize their own dreams? Or do you think we still have a long way to go?
I think we have a long way to go. If you just look at the job situation for young people, I was just saying, you know, you get out of university and you wait 5 years to get a job that is related to what you studied. That is your, by the time, you know, you're getting to your late 30s, you maybe have a family, you're struggling. The majority of Kenyans are struggling. And that means that we're not in the right place. And maybe we're going in the right direction, but it's too slow. And the young people cannot wait. And this is the trouble for young people, is that opportunities are lost then. You know, if you're in school and you're going to do your standard, your year 8, and your teachers are not coming to teach you because they're badly paid or not being supervised or regulated, and you fail the exams, that's an opportunity lost, because we don't have so many channels that you can follow. And that's a begrudged angry young person who becomes a carpenter and makes you this crooked table because he's just damn angry that he's a carpenter when actually he wanted to go and become a teacher. So we need to start examining how we really, what infrastructure we're putting in place for our young people, because they're not just our future. They are what is going to make this country flourish. You know, and they're the people who are going to be in charge when we are old and, you know, wrinkled and struggling. And the decisions they make are going to affect us. And they're going to affect us in a big way. And we have to take care of them.
I mean, your brother, the former U.S. president, is coming to launch Sauti Kuu, and he has his own foundation, the Obama Foundation. How do you find synergy as a kind of, you almost appear in some ways as a brother-sister tag team. There you go. Why do you think that is? What unifies, if you like, your opinions on young people, on Africa?
I can't answer that. We are very similar, and it just is. I mean, I wrote about it in my book when I first met my brother, and we got talking, and we just clicked, and we were really. It's like we were finishing each other's sentences. It was really exciting, and I think it's just. I was lucky. It's just a gift. My brother, for me, was a belated gift in my life, and we really feel strongly about similar things, and I can't explain why. Maybe it's the genes. I can't explain it.
It may be
I
the
can't
genes.
explain it, yeah.
What will this visit, you know, with his stature still, you know, coming here and to support your foundation, how do you hope that that will influence, or if you like, give more wind to the work that you're doing?
I'd like to say that already with the support I've gotten national, international, that it's already quite of a high caliber already. I mean, I love my brother dearly, but I won't say that it's because of him that I've come this far.
Right.
It's because of his name as well.
Yes.
I have to respect that, and I have to realize that I can't pretend not. It's opened many, many doors for me, but I want to believe that after going through that door, the people didn't just see my surname as important, but they also saw my first name as important. So I came out as a whole. Auma Obama became of importance and not just Obama's sister. So already, I think I did a lot of the legwork, and he appreciates that, because I take a lot of, as you all know, from the press, I take a lot of care. I'm very careful. I'm very protective of him. So I don't put him in the forefront of what I do and say, oh, it's because of my brother or whatever. So I've managed to go a long distance on the basis of just the way I work and with the name. So in terms of his coming and helping me officially open the center, I see the significance already by the fact that I have had a press conference with the whole room full of the media to listen to what I have to say. So it's actually given me a platform to have a voice, which is very, very important for me. People will look at what I'm doing. People will maybe scrutinize it. People will be interested. People want to come on board. And for me, that is great, because it's giving me the exposure that I need. But again, I also know the responsibility I have with it. So a lot of people can ride on my back as well and share that if they have my vision. So it's not just for me. It's for my community in Alego Nyangoma, in Siaya. It's for Kenyans as a whole. So it's all of us. We're all being celebrated. It's something that all of us will benefit from. And it's for the continent, because this is a pilot. This is something that I would like to replicate in other parts of the country, in East Africa and in Africa.
And you talk about that responsibility, and you know, just for, you know, Kenyans observing you, having, you know, lived through the time of having the most famous brother in the world, and yet you've managed to keep, you know, a rather private life, private demeanor. Would you say that is really because of the responsibility you feel to the name, or is this just you, you know?
I think it's the latter as well. It's just me.
Yeah.
And also it's because, yeah, I think it's just me, because to be honest, first and foremost, and people don't like to hear this, he's my brother, you know? So for me, that's what I see first. He's my
he's
brother.
Not a rock star in your...
He's my younger brother. I mean, I'm 29 forever, but oh, he's my younger brother. So, you know, he's my brother. That's the first thing. And I have to keep that, because if I went crazy about him like everybody else, it would be weird. Our relationship would be weird. It wouldn't function. It wouldn't work, you know. I just can't even imagine it. So he's my brother first and foremost. And it's a place also for him for respite. You know, where you come back and you can exhale, because everybody's just normal around you. So we needed to create that space, and we have that space. And we're very, as a family, the inner circle is very conscious of that, that it's a space where we just exhale and are normal, just us. So that's the first thing about it. The other thing is, I'm the sort of a person that I'm very practical. I just do. If I have things I want to do, if I feel strongly about something, I do it. And I'm a very active person. I have a little joke in my house when I'm doing stuff, especially because sometimes Kenyans tend to take things really slowly, and I'm like, oh, you know. And I always tell people, when I'm in a hurry and I'm doing something, they have to get out of my way because I'm like the wind, because I really move quite fast as well. But that's just the way I am, because I'm driven by the fact that I know things have to be done and I know I can do them. And on top of that, being an Obama with that name, I feel that I have the responsibility and I have the voice. And this voice is only for a limited time. Let's be real. At some point, people will be like, oh, that was, hopefully not. But in that time, I need to make that voice so powerful that people will listen to it for the voice alone and not for the fact that it's Obama's sister or it's Obama. It'll be the voice because it's proven itself. So this sense is what drives me and what also makes my character. The quiet part is because now you can hear me, I'm really loud and I'm talking and I'm passionate. Right. But in reality, as a person, to go out there with nothing to tell, I wouldn't do that. So for a long time, we were plodding along just doing the work. I'm quite articulate in Europe because I talk around, you know, the hurdles of working in the development world quite a lot. But in terms of the real work on the ground, there was really nothing to say. There was no reason to be loud. There was no reason to be exposed or in the limelight. There was no reason. I was just getting the job done. And even now, it's not about me. It's about showing off the center, and it's about the kids. And you'll see that on the 16th. It's about the children. It's about what they've achieved in the time we've worked together. Because actually, it's not a start. It's a continuation on a bigger platform. And that's what I'm excited about. It's not about me.
You talk about that limited time, you know, to leverage that name for the causes, you know, you're working behind. And I wonder what you think your brother's legacy has been, not just in now second visit here to the country, you know, what do you think it has done for Kenya and for Africans? Do you see that as a timeless kind of factor?
I think it's timeless because he's the first African-American president of the United States of America. That is big. That is huge. Already for that reason, it is not going to end. You know, for young people, for children, he's a role model. That will not end. You can do whatever you want if you want, and if you're persistent, and if you're committed, and if you work hard. He's proof of that. Secondly, in terms of his legacy, I am part of that legacy. Sautiku is part of that legacy. Come to Alego, come and see what we've done. It's part of that. This is just the beginning. You know, people are a little bit impatient. People are like, oh, you know, this is this gonya gonya. Stop, guys.
And gonya gonya means?
You know, gimme. Give me. You know, stop. Come on, guys. What I want to ask Kenyans, and which camera should I look?
You can go that one right there.
In the time that Obama has been a president, up until now, what have you done? What have you done to make a difference in your country, in your life, in your community? Because you cannot sit and just wait for Obama. What have you done? I can tell you what I've done. I can tell you what a few other people have done, but ask yourself, what is your legacy? You see, that is what is the thing that I want people to start doing. If we all do something, including Obama, including myself, imagine how far we will get. Imagine how far we would have gotten already. We cannot say that now Obama has come today or tomorrow, now things are going to change. If you're not doing anything, it's not going to change. It's going to be like that project that people talked about and said, oh, when Obama was the president, it was happening, now it stopped. It'll stop. But we want it to be sustainable. So, guys, get off your... do something. Stop the gonya gonya.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
All the best.
Thank you.
Lovely meeting you.
Thank you. It was great. Now
I
I see you. I always hear about you. Great. We have a picture, right? I'm going to go and show it off. Yes. I want to show that one off.
Wow.